So here we go with the geochemical cycles. Okay, so we're going to first cover the water cycle. Now, the water cycle is the super easy one, so I'm going to just really point out the ones that are tricky for some people sometime, right? And I zoom right into the beginning of the picture because this seems to be the word that's in the past been a trick. The tree, TR, transpiration, is tree sweating where the water is going up. It's like evaporation, but it's from a tree, right? I like to make it even more difficult because I want to make it more connected to humans. We perspire, we have perspiration, they have transpiration. So, but that's just one of those words that people struggle with. The other one, second on my list, would be condensation. It seems to trick people up once in a while. And how I remember, it's like old middle school trick, is clouds come together to form condensation. So the CC, it's all kind of built around that letter C. Clouds come together, that's condensation. If I were to look around, most people now have noticed in the last week that we're very comfortable with runoff. Runoff becomes super important because it's going to pull our other cycles, the chemicals out of the mountains, like in the phosphorus cycle. It'll move pollution around. So we'll see that throughout our semester. And if I look down below, when you guys did this study guide, there was 3 words in the bottom. It kind of cut off, and that was just because how I cut it. I'm going to circle 2 of those words and talk just a bit about them and move on. Infiltration. The best way to think about that is to infiltrate, right? To actually do what a former student does. A Trojan student from about 3 years ago is right now in the area of Asia spying on China. He's infiltrated the Chinese social media platforms, is actually trying to track what TikTok is trying to do to us. He's literally trying to follow the Chinese, like how they're going to try to get us, right? And he's infiltrated their spy networks on how they spy on us. So let's hope he does a good job, right? That would be a really good thing. So infiltrate in this story is the water getting in, seeping into the ground. Now, the word that was kind of cut off, which I probably won't put on the, I don't think we put on the test already, but I just want to make sure I mention it anyway for educational value, is percolation. Percolation. And that is often referred to coffee. Coffee is percolated, where hot water is dripped through a bunch of dirty old grounds, coffee beans, and makes that coffee around liquid. In this case, it's bubbling on down into the ground. And my favorite way is to think of Coach's favorite place called the Gulf of Mexico or America, or whatever you want, where the water washes up on the sand and it bubbles and seeps into the, it seeps through the sand into the ground, right? That's kind of a more of a bubbling action. That's percolation. Okay, we're going to keep on flying along here. And again, we're just doing a little quick highlights, and then we'll have a Jeopardy game. Most important is the human impact. Like, what do we do to change these things? When we dam a river, we do it for a reason. What was the reason that we dam rivers across America? We get something from them. Electricity and energy, you betcha. And it's very cheap overall, right? It's like all you have to do is put up a wall, block the river, and the water pushes a big turbine, and we're going to be working on that this week. Like, how does actually power get made? But this moving water moves a turbine, and when you get movement, you can turn it into electricity, okay? However, the damming of rivers stops fish from going up there and breeding, which is sex, reproduction of fish. And so it changes the way fish can habitat an area or live in an area. So it's actually not a good thing. So in America, the dams that are not used very well anymore, like not producing good electricity, we're actually taking them down and letting the rivers flow again. And the more we can do that, the more back to nature we can become. I'll highlight one more word because it connects to that hard TR word. What was that TR word? Transpiration. So if we deforest, what does deforestation mean? Chopping down what? Trees. So if we don't have trees, we don't have transpiration. Now we're kind of sticking that cycle and we're slapping it around, right? We're changing it, and that's probably not good. Another one, this is a higher order thought, but it's not going to be on the test. But again, I'm just sharing some deep thoughts with you. Is over pumping aquifers. What that really means is if you're not in the city, and if you're like me, I live a half a mile out of the city, and I'm not even sure of this, but I believe I get the water from an underground aquifer. I mean, a pipe gets down there like a well, pushes down the ground, it pokes like a giant balloon of water under the ground, and we suck it up, and now I got water. So if we overpump, like if I had a farm, like Coach out there, and I just keep dumping water on it all the time, sucking it out of the ground, I'm gonna pop that water balloon underground and drain it. So if humans do that too much, that's not a good thing, right? Anytime we do too much of anything is bad. So that's just some highlights of the water cycle. Going to just, of course, make a quick mental note that the ocean contains most of the water, and I'm sure most of us would have probably guessed that already. What's the biggest ocean?
The Atlantic.
No, not the Atlantic. Pacific. Atlantic is number 2, though. That is number 2. So now we're going to move into the carbon cycle. This one's, again, a little bit more complicated as we go through these. I look at this, we have a lot of arrows moving up into the atmosphere. Most of these arrows is our fault. It's not our fault, makes it sound like we're doing bad things, but we are doing something. We're doing something to make these happen. The first one I can grab on is respiration, and that is personal. Respiration's a fancy word for doing this, and see if you can yell out a better word. Ooh. What am I doing?
Inhaling and exhaling.
Inhaling and exhaling. Great word for breathing, right? Very good scientific word. So when we exhale, we're pushing what chemical up in the air? CO2. So CO2, that carbon dioxide gas, is going up in the atmosphere. That is mine and your fault, but guess what? None of us are going to voluntarily stop that. That would be a bad thing. So that we can't change. The next one is when we burn stuff. I didn't do it this weekend, and I try not to do it too often, but if I have a whole bunch of dead leaves and a pile of dead sticks, and maybe I want to start a bonfire. Anybody have a bonfire this weekend? Did you? Oh, I love a good bonfire. That's something we all enjoy. A little bit hot. Yeah, during the midday, don't do it midday. I was at a soccer game, and it was hot yesterday. In the late evening, starts getting cool, little bonfire, little marshmallow thing, right? So combustion is a scientific word, means burn. And we usually, always, we burn things that were originally carbon. Wood, coal, gas, oil, those are all carbon. I don't like to burn plastic. Why?
No. Poisonous chemicals.
Poisonous chemicals can come out of it. It's stinky. It's unhealthy. Yeah. So when I think of what we burn, we usually burn good stuff, carbon. But then that means it puts it back up in the atmosphere. All right. Volcanic eruption, I know, is on there. People, that's something humans can't control. We can't stop a volcano. But some of these things we can control, like the burning of fuels to fire up a power plant. Okay. Looking at the major thing that brings things down from the atmosphere, we have the thing that trees do again. Now, this is a special power they have. We don't have it. Photosynthesis. It's a beautiful, powerful chemical change where they can take some weird things out there, basically called carbon. They can take the carbon and change it into a Snickers bar or an apple, right? So that's freaking crazy cool if you think about it, that they have that power. We do not. So we have to have them to have food, all right? And that's a beautiful thing in this picture because, again, there's photosynthesis done twice. One by little green things like the ocean algae or whatever, or seaweed. And then, of course, the big trees that we normally think of. Okay? Moving on. Okay. Oh, before I move on, I forgot to point out, just because I know it's on the test, that fossil fuels is that general name for all that once living stuff like plants and trees and animals that died and are down below. Now, that is limited or unlimited? Limited, right? They're good. We could run out of them. They change when we guess that might happen all the time. I've heard, like when I was in high school, we said, oh, we're going to run out of them, and we still haven't. But we are finding them harder to find. We have to dig deeper. We have to go further. And so someday we probably will run out of them, and that's not going to be a pretty day for us humans because we rely on it so much. Okay, so that anybody could probably agree with. Looking at the details of this note. Now, you guys took these notes the other day. Hey, Dimitri. Okay, I want you to be comfortable with two fancy words. A sink, because I could go in there and dump stuff down the sink. In this case, we're going to dump carbon dioxide into the ocean because it's nice and big. Me and you don't do it. It happens naturally. And if anybody had a carbonated drink, I'm looking around the room, probably not right now. It's not necessarily good for you because carbon dioxide is acid, bad for the teeth. It's not as bad as meth. Meth is really bad for the teeth. Wow. Yeah, I seen a meth mom come in one day. I'm like, whoa, no wonder that kid's messed up. That mom had teeth falling out, man. They were falling out. Really nasty. But carbonated water, carbonated sodas have carbon dioxide in it. Now, what happens if you take the cap off and let it sit there? Becomes flat, comes out there, right? So the water can only hold so much carbon dioxide. Somebody had to jam it in there, right? They had to push it there because you know what happens, it comes out. So the ocean can only hold so much. And at some point, it's going to say to us humans, I've got enough carbon dioxide in here. I ain't going to help you guys out anymore. And we're going to have more and more of a problem because we can't, the world doesn't, nature doesn't put it anywhere else. It's going to be stuck in the atmosphere. So anyway, just got to point that out. We'll move on. Sorry. Onto the nitrogen cycle. Our third cycle of 4. It can be the scariest looking. The good news is we're not chemistry class. We're environmental. We're just looking at the impact on Earth. So we don't have to be fancy with this word nitrification, ammonia, NH3, assimilation, ammonification. These are words that I actually did not put to my memory because I don't need them either. That's the beautiful thing. But there's a player, there's a character. Just like a famous movie, you got to know the main character. In this case, it's bacteria. And it has a special name. Now, if your armpits stink right now, that's bacteria. If your feet stink, that's a bacteria. If you ate breakfast, you got bacteria eating away at your food, helping you out. Those are all good. Well, there's another bacteria found in the soil, and it's called nitrogen fixing. Boring name for sure, right? So that nitrogen fixing means, hey, I can fix it and put it into the soil.
I will say, though, I appreciate whoever decided to name it that.
Yeah.
Not the name of it get confused.
That's true. Not a fancy, funny, weird name. Fixes it in there. Putting it in there for you humans. And not actually our humans. Who has to use it first? Plants. Beautiful. So the plants are sitting there going, thank you for that nitrogen, because just like us, they can't get it from the atmosphere. How much nitrogen is sitting up on the top? Does anybody remember? It's a really, really big number.
I'm not sure. Like 300 pounds.
Give me a percent, and it's almost all of it.
85%.
Ooh, that's
90.
good. In the 70s. Good job. That's a big, you guys were 10. So 70% is right here, and it's useless to me. It's useless to you, and the plants behind Z. Those plants can't get it either. So they rely on this little old bacteria, or a lightning bolt, but I don't know about you, but who chases lightning? Right? I'm not going to chase lightning. And a plant has trouble chasing lightning, doesn't it? Because it doesn't move, right? So that being said, think your favorite to say nitrogen fixing bacteria is there to help the plants, and then we can eat the plants. One thing on the Jeopardy today, I'll give you a tip. All the fancy words are above or below this line. Where are most of the fancy words? Yeah. So if you had to guess, are these things down here solid or gas or liquid? I had never been asked that before either today. Brought up the Jeopardy last block. Miss Graham, my partner, had made it, and she threw me for a tough one, but we could logically, I actually got it right, and I hope you can remember this and get it right too. It's kind of logical that if it's down here, it'd be solid, and if it would be up here, what would it be? Gas. So if they ask me for this one, N2, I know it's gas, and I hope you would too. But if they fancy any basically fancy chemical word, all those are down here dealing with this change of things chemically down in the soil. So that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. Again, none of us can know everything, but if we know some things, we can make really good guesses and hypotheses. And I love that about science. You don't have to know everything. So moving on. just double check it. Yeah, I got that. Okay, the last cycle, and then there's one big finale here. The phosphorus cycle, I always think of Bob Ross because Bob Ross paints this picture beautifully, right? So Bob Ross, starts off with these beautiful mountains. Almost every painting he does is the mountains, and that's where the phosphorus comes from. It comes from rocks right up there in the mountains, okay? And then what washes it down? Runoff will bring it on down after it's weathered and eroded. It'll kind of wash it into the soil. And I kind of just, this is not my drawing, but I love how this person decided to put soil right in the middle as like the target. That's where we want it. Once it's in the soil, then plants can use it. Then animals can eat the plants. It's a lot like nitrogen. Except, where did it start? Where did we start? Up in the mountains. All the other cycles, there's 4 cycles: water, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus. This one starts with the rocks. All the other 3 are found where? In the air and the atmosphere. So this makes I don't know who designed this, but it was like the perfect multiple choice teacher question, right? Oh, wow, I can make this multiple choice question beautifully easy. Give all my students those 4 cycles and say, which one starts with the rocks? Which one doesn't stand out? Or which one stands out, as different, right? This one's different. But also there's something the same. It ends up in the soil. So at the last part of this story, we go to this weird big E word. I think I got a better pick. Eutrophication, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right either. Okay? Well, this word is a fancy word for phosphorus and nitrogen coming together on a farm, for an example. Nitrogen number 1. Phosphorus number 2. In a substance that helps everything grow. What's that called? F word? Fertilizer. So even if we don't have a farm, a backyard garden, or a lawn, some people around us do, people around Georgia. Georgia's known to grow a lot of great things. We're going to find about them this semester. What's your guess? What does Georgia grow a lot? Peaches. Boy, peaches are good. Peanuts. Peanuts and corn. What's the other nut? Peanuts and pecans. And wheat. Yeah, good. Blueberries. I didn't realize that until I moved to Georgia. We have a lot of blueberries down here. So without fertilizer, those things wouldn't grow a lot, where some farmers making lots of cash in Georgia, right? So fertilizer helps farmers make a lot of money, but if they put too much on, beautiful word, excess, it runs into the river. What happens next? After it runs into the river, anything green gets really freaking high as a kite, happy as can be, eats like a monster. It's like Golden Corral, baby. You go to the Golden Corral, what are you going to do? Eat. Too little or too much? After you go to Golden Corral, what do you like to do when you go home? Used to. I did not think of that. Okay, I was thinking sleep, but I was thinking you're right. You go to the bathroom. I might take a nap after MJ's. Everybody love MJ's? Oh, I love MJ's. MJ's. Mwah! Give me that MJ's. I like that. I go eat too much there. And after I go to there, Golden Corral, whatever your favorite buffet is, you go home and you crash, usually a little carb crash, right? Demetrius, give me a carb. What do you like? Oh, that's about, yeah. Okay. Good for you. So after you, sorry, I got to figure out how I'm connected this. Okay, so you go to a buffet and you eat too much, you get tired, right? LJ, I hope you don't mind how I pronounce that. It has this fertilizer come down it, and it's like the Golden Corral, man. It just eats it all up and multiplies, and it has a lot of it. And then next thing you know, it actually uses up the oxygen in the water. That's something that's kind of weird, but who needs oxygen in the water? The little bitty fish. And so they all die, and next thing you know, you got dead fish floating around, and nothing else wants to live there because the algae they got high as a kite. Literally, they ate it all up. They're gone. They took over. Okay, that's that green pond scum. All that comes back to that weird word, just to practice saying it a little bit. Eutrophication. All right. So that's a quick story. I want to stop the video because I did like a highlight version here. And I love how that turned out. I don't know if it worked now or not. Shoot, you know. And